Welcome to the Kind of Intentional podcast. Life gets full fast and it's easy to drift from the life you actually want to build. Each episode, we're going to take on one real life topic, share honest stories, and pull out practical ideas you can actually use. These episodes are short, focused, and intentional because your time matters, and so does the life you're building. I'm your host, Tom McCalsey, here with my co-host, Danielle Andrew.
What is up? We are going to start off today with a fun fact about Tom.
Oh.
So, some people may know this, but Tom doesn't like Post-it notes.
Oh, I hate Post-it notes.
And I think that is so weird.
Yeah.
I love a neon Post-it note.
I hate it.
Love it.
Hate it. So, and we actually banned them from our office because of that reason.
That was a humongous loss for me. Still recovering from that. Anywho, today's episode is episode 5, Discipline and Showing Up.
Wow. So what we're talking about is building the life that we want on the days that we don't feel like showing up. How often does that happen?
Every day.
Like when motivation is great until it doesn't show up one day and you get out of bed and you're like, oh, I have to actually get up and do this today.
Yeah, it's really easy to pump yourself up for something, and then it's super easy to talk yourself out of it.
I feel like it's so much easier to talk yourself out of something than it is to talk yourself into.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, and in some cases, the thing that you need to do isn't even that hard. It's just because showing up to do it is like the effort just to get it done is so much more difficult.
Maybe it's like unloading the dishwasher.
Yeah, or like throwing the weeds away that are still on the sidewalk from a week ago.
You know, we don't have to bring up.
I'm just saying.
We don't have to bring up open wounds.
I'm just saying. The weeds were dead and they were all out of the landscape.
Yeah, but that's just crazy, right? Like, it's crazy that we don't have the motivation to do things that are easy.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like why is motivation in some cases just like this emotion that we feel for just a short period of time, and it's almost temporary, where it's like we can't kind of continue to maintain it. It just shows up for a little bit of time. Maybe it helps us get started. We get a little bit of the project done. We get a little bit of the work that we were supposed to get done. And then at some point in time, it's just like, man, you know, it'd be a whole lot easier to just not finish this.
Yeah, it reminds me just a lot of consistency. And it's exciting when something's new motivation is exciting, but I almost feel like, well, I was motivated most of the days this week.
Yeah.
So it's okay for me to be non-motivated today.
Yeah, for sure. And so, I mean, I think the hard thing about this motivation is that, you know, sometimes we have this ideal picture of the goal that we want to get to, and occasionally we'll get really close to it, or maybe we'll even reach the goal. And at that point in time, it's almost like our complete motivation is gone associated with the goal. Either we've reached it or we're close enough to it that we're like, hey, we can coast a little bit. And so we don't have to work as hard. We're just going to allow ourselves to just take a little bit of a break here. But if you're anything like me, a short break from working out or eating healthy turns into multiple days. And then by the time you get back into it, it's been weeks. And you're like, oh my gosh, how did I drift so far from here?
Yeah, this happened to me. So I ran several half marathons, but I ran one specifically with my dad, and we trained, all season, to run this half marathon. And it was super motivating, right? Because I was doing it with my dad, and I had to show up because he was showing up, and he had to show up because I was showing up. And we just had that accountability where, you know, I told him, you tell me to get my butt out of bed.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Don't take no for an answer.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you run the race and you have like that intense moment of, you know, pride, and like you reached your goal, your adrenaline's going, and then you don't run.
Yeah, for sure.
For a week. Then 2 weeks, then 3 weeks. And like, you've just built up, you had this great thing going, and it's like the goal is not the end of something, right? It's like, it's a milestone that we're reaching. But we so often fall out of, you know, that motivation once we've accomplished something.
Yeah, no, and I think one of the things that I had set out for a while ago was I came up with this idea of like I just wanted to walk 10,000 steps a day, and I don't even exactly remember where 10,000 came from, but it was about 3 years ago that I was like I'm gonna hit 10,000 steps a day because at that point in time I saw something where I think the average American walks a little less than like 5,200 steps in a day. So I was like, I want to double the normal. And, in most of the jobs that I've had, I sit behind a desk all day or you sit in meetings and, you just sit so much more. And that was really starting to creep in how I physically felt in a lot of ways. And so I was like, okay, I want to walk 10,000 steps. And whether or not that was on vacation or anything else, I tried to do that. And so, but it took forever for me to develop some consistency around it because, certainly there's days where you get done with work and you're like, man, if it's a hard meeting day and all I have is 2,000 steps and 8,000 steps in the time between the home from work and dinner or bedtime just seems insurmountable. And you're like, well, it'd be so much easier to just veg out, to just relax. I earned this from my work, and so I just don't want to do it.
But do you feel like when that happens, like it doesn't count?
Yeah.
Like it's just, I don't know, I just get so down on myself, I guess.
Yeah.
When I'm not showing up or when I'm not consistent. Well, I didn't do this perfectly, so it just doesn't matter.
Yeah. And I think that's a really hard thing that we deal with, especially with streaks. Like as soon as we start to do something consistently and we start to see the results from it, the second that we detract from it, like we've talked about before, it seems like it's almost insurmountable to get back on and start to go again. And I think it almost takes more motivation when you have one little lapse in that streak to get started again. But that's absolutely the time that you need the discipline to come in and help finish that. So that it's one of those things where, as you shared with, running a marathon and having your dad as that accountability partner, we started using the Steps app in our small group where we encouraged everybody to walk 10,000 steps a day. And we actually did a challenge where we challenged the girls versus the guys. And the loser had to make the other side breakfast one morning at church. And it was crazy. There was an individual that walked 42,000 steps in a day, and there was another person that walked 38,000 steps in a day.
A lot of smack talk going on too, for sure.
There was a lot of praying associated with that, and I just, thought we were going to have marriage counseling over a step challenge. It was absurd. But it was really great because out of that situation, there were several people that are 180 days in a row of walking more than 10,000 steps. And so what they started to see was the benefits associated with that discipline and that motivation to just say, hey, if I just stay on this, there is a lot of benefits that come along with this. But now we have this app, and the thing that I like about the Steps app is we can see each other, or we can see each other's streak. We can see how many steps that each other's walked, fairly live updates through the day. And so it's been really, really fun to kind of see how it's still maintained. And so I know there's another couple that's well over the 180 day mark. And so, a half a year in a row, every single day showing up, whether or not it's raining outside or if it's snowing, to getting out there and using that motivation to kind of stay consistent. Because again, like when you look at it, I think I walked like 4.2 million steps in the year of 2025.
That's insane.
It seems insane.
That sounds like an astronomical number.
I know. You know what it does do? Wears out a whole bunch of pairs of shoes.
Yep. I can see that.
Which is good because my wife loves buying shoes. So you're welcome, Brittany. You get to buy more shoes so I can continue.
That just means she gets to buy more shoes too.
I'm just saying. Yeah. Well, you have to buy a pair for each one of us every single time.
Well, sure.
At least that's what she's told me.
If you're getting some, then she needs to get some. It's only fair.
It's only fair. So, but as we think through this, discipline is one of those things that, if we understand what our goals are, we understand like the deeper why, the purpose behind it, it makes it a lot easier when that motivation isn't showing up as much to lean into the discipline to say, hey, I am the person that walks 10,000 steps a day. I am the person that eats healthy on a daily basis, because that kind of discipline, it really almost kind of multiplies on itself, because I feel like when you start to develop discipline in one area of your life, it starts to carry across into other areas of your life, whether or not that's financial, whether or not it's at work, and how you reduce the chaos that you deal with on a daily basis. But that discipline, as long as you start to develop it in one area, you start to realize that you actually can do this.
Yeah. And I think it's really hard because, as humans, we crave like comfort, right? We want to be comfortable. I always joke. I always joke that I want to wear soft pants. I don't want to wear hard pants because soft pants are just more comfortable, right? We just want to be more comfortable. And so, but the truth is, and I have had a lot of experience with this the past year. The truth is that real growth happens when, you know, you're going through a hard moment, when you're going through something, when the process is taking longer than you expected. The hardest days truly are the most important. And those are the days where showing up seems monumental,
Yeah.
but you could do the smallest thing of, I drove to the gym and I got out of my car today.
Yeah.
Or, whatever it may be, but you grow in those moments. And so growth comes from those periods of discomfort, and we don't like discomfort. And so we get complacent usually because we don't want to feel that discomfort. The growth isn't worth feeling the discomfort, but truly, if we reframe our minds, then you're just looking at that a completely different way.
Yeah.
How am I growing from this? How am I growing from showing up?
For sure. So let's think through this as we kind of wrap. What is one thing we've been waiting for motivation instead of just building the discipline? Like, where in life are you waiting for motivation to show up, to start to do the thing that you've always wanted to do, instead of just saying, I'm going to build the discipline, I'm going to fight through, and I'm going to get this done? So a couple simple things to do this week. Show up for one thing every single day. 7 days in a row this week. Just do the same thing. Something that you're saying, I'm going to commit to this. I'm going to do it every single day.
And maybe share that with your partner in life, like,
sure.
or your best friend, so that they can hold you accountable. And those are things that can grow you in your relationships too.
For sure. So let's focus on consistency instead of intensity. I think that's going to be a huge thing. We have to remember, we don't have to be perfect, but we absolutely have to show up. We absolutely have to keep pushing forward and doing the things to develop that discipline. So hopefully this has been another great episode where we just learn just a little bit more about each other, that we're fighting through this to try to just be a little bit more intentional. We're kind of intentional here, and that we continue to keep pushing each other to grow. Hopefully everybody's enjoying this. We're going to drop a new episode next Tuesday, and look forward to sharing with you then.
See ya.